The morning sun filtered through the kitchen windows, casting a warm glow over the breakfast table where Bill sat contemplating the approach of a significant milestone. His wife, Judy, looked at him with a mischievous glint in her eyes and asked if there was anything special he wanted for his birthday. Bill leaned back, a weary smile playing on his lips, and suggested that she might find his true desires somewhat dirty and degrading. Judy, ever the pragmatist, immediately shut down any thoughts of manual labor, declaring that she was absolutely not changing the oil in his car. Bill shrugged it off with a casual whatever, but Judy would not let it rest. She reminded him that this was a big one because he was turning 40. The number seemed to hang in the air like a heavy cloud. Bill groaned, asking her not to remind him that his life felt like it was already 1/3 over. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a weathered piece of paper. It was a list he had made 20 years ago, containing all the things he had promised himself he would accomplish before he hit the age of 40. He looked at the faded ink, seeing dreams of playing drums with a famous rock band or joining a professional circuit. Judy teased him, saying that at this point he could probably play drums with a local fair band if he went down and asked them nicely. Bill looked closer at the list. It mentioned whitewater rafting and entering a triathlon. He realized with a heavy heart that he kept postponing all his dreams. He confessed that he had originally made this list for when he turned 30, and when that day came, he simply changed the 3 to a 4. Judy, trying to be helpful in her own way, suggested he just change the 4 to a 5 and give himself another 10 years. Bill felt a brief moment of relief at the idea, admitting that changing a number did make him feel better, even though a whitewater rafting trip still sounded like a lot of fun. Judy patted his hand gently, telling him to pace himself because they had 10 more years to make it happen. As the week progressed, the household buzzed with the energy of the upcoming celebration. Judy was busy finalizing the plans, confirming their reservation for Friday night. It was going to be a grand birthday dinner for the whole family. However, a friend mentioned that Friday was not particularly good for them. Judy, in her determined fashion, decided that Friday was indeed perfect and the plan would stay as it was. The destination was Bill's favorite restaurant, Beefy's Porterhouse. It was a place famous for its smiling cow sign, a cheerful mascot that seemed to beg patrons to eat. Bill's imagination ran wild with the menu, thinking of turf and turf, sirloin soup, steak salads, and perhaps even a wine that somehow featured the essence of beef. The children were also involved in the preparations. Tina and her sister approached Bill with excitement, announcing that they were going to bake him a cake from scratch this year. Bill was moved by the gesture, telling them it was very sweet and that he might actually cry. Judy, ever the realist, whispered to him not to cry because there would be a backup cake just in case. She knew the girls were nice, but one did not screw around with the integrity of a birthday cake. Amidst the excitement, Linda arrived with an early present. She explained that shopping for a man who seemed to need everything was not easy. She handed Bill a spa certificate for a day of beauty, including a facial, manicure, and pedicure. Bill was puzzled, wondering when he would ever go to a spa, but Linda clarified that it was really a present for Judy. After all, Judy was the one who had to look at Bill's face every single day. Judy defended him, saying she was completely happy with the way Bill looked, but then a strange scent began to fill the room. Brian walked into the room, and the air shifted immediately. A powerful, overwhelming aroma followed him. Judy asked what the smell was, wondering if Brian was wearing a vast amount of really bad cologne. It felt as though an old spice ship had come into port with a full catch. Linda admitted she had given him a bottle of something with a horse on the label, and Bill joked that it felt like the horse was actually inside the bottle. Brian, feeling self-conscious, quickly headed upstairs. Bill realized it was time for a father and son talk about the proper application of fragrance. He told Judy he was going in, hoping to explain that less is more, while Judy warned him not to hurt the boy's feelings. Bill entered Brian's room and found the young man looking troubled. He told Brian to sit down, explaining that as a boy grows up, the world opens up for him. He opened a window to let some fresh air in, much to Brian's protest about the cold. Bill got straight to the point, telling his son that the cologne was too much and that he actually smelled quite strong. Brian was embarrassed, asking if it was really that noticeable. He eventually confessed that he had started wearing the cologne after gym class because he perspired so much. Bill smiled, telling Brian that he had the Miller engine. He explained that Miller men were natural sweaters because their powerful internal engines threw off a lot of heat. Brian mentioned he used antiperspirant, but Bill dismissed it as being as ineffective as pixie dust. He told Brian that after exercise, he had to take a shower seriously, getting into every crease. Brian then revealed the true issue. He was not comfortable showering with the other boys at school. He felt different from them, noticing that his body was developing in places where others were not. Bill understood the delicate nature of the problem. He suggested that Brian could stall after gym class, perhaps by helping the coach put away equipment, and then take a shower after everyone else had dressed and left. Brian thought this was a great idea, even if it made him a little late for calculus class. He thanked his father for the advice, feeling glad he could come to him with guy stuff. Bill felt proud of how he handled the situation, later telling Judy that the cologne was just a smokescreen for a delicate problem. However, the secret did not stay quiet for long. Bill, feeling the need to share his parenting success, told Judy about Brian's situation. He compared Brian's development to a roll of undeveloped film, suggesting he was just a bit behind. Judy felt heartbroken for her son, imagining him standing in the shower feeling scrawny and pale. She wanted to go talk to him, but Bill insisted he had it under control. He argued that men communicate differently, often through grunts or gestures, and that Judy was now out of the loop while he was in. The next morning, the household was back to its busy routine. The girls were counting birthday candles, realizing they had 21 but needed 19 more to reach 40. Meanwhile, Judy tried to show support for Brian in her own way. She packed him a healthy lunch and included an article from a magazine titled 6 Sexy Strategies to Feel Better in the Buff. Brian was horrified. He realized his father had shared their private talk with his mother. Bill tried to defend himself, saying he did not keep secrets from Judy, but Brian felt humiliated. The situation became even more complicated when Bill tried to explain that everyone is different and it was not a competition. Brian snapped back, asking why he was always the one who stood out, whether in math, science, or now the showers. Bill tried to find a silver lining, but Brian was inconsolable. He was even more upset when he learned that the secret had spread beyond the house. Bill had told a few guys at work, and one of them had told his wife, and soon everyone seemed to know. Bill felt terrible as the weight of his mistake set in. He realized he had betrayed his son's trust. On the eve of his birthday, he felt like doing nothing at all. He even considered canceling the dinner at Beefy's porterhouse. Judy encouraged him to make things right. She had tried to talk to Brian herself, but the conversation had been incredibly awkward. She told Brian that his father loved him and only wanted to help, but Brian was adamant about not speaking to him. In a final attempt to bridge the gap, Bill waited for Brian after practice. He confessed to his son that he had once eaten a whole can of dog food as a kid because it looked good. Brian was confused, but Bill continued, sharing even more embarrassing secrets. He told Brian about how he once practiced kissing on the family dog, Tessie, because he was nervous about a date. He even admitted that sometimes, when it was hot, he liked to sleep in Judy's old maternity underwear because they were roomy and soft. Brian was stunned. He told his father that after hearing those stories, he would never feel like a freak again. He truly forgave Bill, and they headed home to celebrate the birthday dinner as a family. However, unbeknownst to them, the rest of the family had been listening to Bill's confessions from the other room. As Bill walked in, feeling relieved and ready for a steak, the atmosphere was thick with the silent knowledge of his secrets. They sat down for the final moments of the evening, the images of Bill's stories fresh in everyone's minds. Bill, unaware of the audience he had just entertained, announced he needed to head to the bathroom after a long day in traffic. The family watched him go, exchanging looks of disbelief and amusement. They agreed to speak of nothing but a happy birthday, even if they would never look at the family dog or maternity clothes the same way again. The celebration continued, a testament to the messy, hilarious, and ultimately loving nature of their family life.